And this was the mistake that we made. See, Jared, this was the mistake that Grant and I made. Before I even figured it out with Grant, okay? See, that's a whole other story, okay? I was under the belief that I had to do everything on my own. Yeah. I was this actress. I moved to Los Angeles at 17 from New Orleans. I was conditioned. My information, and I don't even know where it came from. It's not even important. But I was indoctrinated to be the strong, independent, powerful woman, never to depend on a man for anything. And I had that in my system, hardcore. Well, that's great, and I was a good survival mechanism until I met Grant. And then now I found myself in a marriage, and the first 4 years, I'm this strong, independent, powerful woman, never to depend on a man for anything. So we were in constant conflict the whole time. We couldn't even build each other up as a couple because we were in a couple fighting each other. So I'm in this constant, like, I got to do this thing on my own. We're fighting each other. Finally, I figured out how to actually work in a collaborated effort with my husband. Now, and we can get into that conversation later, but now we're working together in a coordinated, collaborated effort. We started to make some stride. Yeah. Next biggest mistake we made, we only tried to do it with just us. Yeah. We didn't know how to collaborate and bring other people into the fold. We didn't know about community. We were too busy trying to compete with everybody and do it on our own and do everything all by ourselves. All by ourselves. You know, so we spent years, 10 years, trying so hard to work on our own. And in the last 5 years, we've collaborated with people and boom.
And what I really see is I see, and I know your story about what happened from the time you went from, I'm in New Orleans, and I say, were you 17 when you moved? You're 17 years old. Say, I want to move to LA and I want to become an actress. Yeah. So you have that whole window of time from the time that you're 17 and you make this big move, really before that, to the time that you meet Grant. Like, there's that whole period. Then you have you met Grant, you got married to Grant, and then you have the time where you guys were together but you weren't aligned. Yeah. And then you've had the whole time after that, since you got in alignment, really I think since 2004, I think is the year you said.
2004 we got married. In 2008 the whole economy collapsed, and that's when we had to reevaluate. Okay, so this was the moment of truth for me in 2008. Okay, I was pregnant with our first child. I was not working as an actress. Grant's income as he knew it was completely over. His seminar business, he was only doing seminars at this time. It was over. I had to look at, what am I doing here? I had to confront my mind. Like, who and why can't I depend on a man that I'm married to? Like, why would that somehow make me less than? You know, like, people want to look at the support role as like a weaker role, but think about this. I've been in the support role. I know what that takes for the support role, which is why I'm here sharing with you the support role. But imagine, remember the definition of support is to bear the weight of. So if you're going to bear the weight of something, you have to be stronger than the thing that you're bearing the weight of. So I think the support role actually has to be stronger than the thing. Yeah,
no doubt, 100%. So like, if we go to, like, you've just, if you can click the thing here, you said, like, you've talked about this idea of big, and you've talked about we've got to get on the same page, and you've talked about decisions that had to get made along the way. Like, when you think about 10X, and when other people think about 10X, I don't always think that the Cardone's definition of 10X is what everybody else is. I think sometimes people talk about money and success because they see that. That's something that you can very easily visualize. But what about the other things? Like what do you really think 10X is about? Like,
well, here's the thing. 10X is a mindset. It's about a multiplier. It's about doing more. It's about a big think. Okay? And for me, this is where it all started. It all started for me in 2008 when I was confronted having to look at my mindset and what I was conditioned to think, and I had to be willing to challenge myself into doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10x. 10x is that's one aspect
Yeah.
of 10x, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's being willing to actually confront the scene and the situation that you're in and making a difference and doing something about it. So in 2008, when I'm pregnant with my first child,
Mm-hmm.
and we're on the verge of losing everything,
Mm-hmm.
my whole purpose in 2008 became, how do we survive? How do we not lose it all? There was no interest and purpose in helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't come until way later. I was greedy. Grant and I had to be greedy at that point and take care of ourselves. There was no philanthropy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had to go, in my mind, as a woman, Jared, okay, who was taught never to depend on a man, or I was going to be some subservient, and then, so imagine 2008 saying, you know what, I am going to trade in my acting career, the whole thing that I've spent my entire identity
Mm-hmm.
doing, my whole bread and butter, the whole time I was in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give that up. I'm going to go run behind the scenes infrastructure and try to create this idea, this crazy lunatic vision that I had called, oh, Grant, let's build an empire,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm going to go support a man. And I had to confront all the voices in my head of all the imaginary women that were going to hate me because I'm a sellout and because I went and supported a man. And,
Yeah.
and what am I going to do when he cheats on me in 10 years? Because that's what he's going to do when you get old as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I had to really look and say, okay, stop that. Okay, so let's take worst case scenario. He cheats on me. Okay, and we're ended in a divorce. Like, okay, well, I'm a powerful woman. I moved out to Los Angeles at 17. I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he cheats on me, I'll land on my own 2 feet. I'll make the best of it. What's the worst thing that could happen? I could be humiliated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm from New Orleans. I humiliated myself. Okay.
The queen of the
I'm
quarter.
The queen of the quarter, baby. Okay, so look, that is, you know what I'm saying? So that's 10x. 10x is being able to really look
Mm-hmm.
and adapt and get right information and make a plan and think big. So I go to Grant in 2008 and I say, Grant, this was the birth of it
Mm-hmm.
all. I say, Grant, here, I'm going to trade in the acting career in order to trade up. It's my first entrepreneurial move because I was an actress. I was an artist type. I knew nothing about business.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about being entrepreneurial, which is like putting something at risk for the chances of something returning to you.
Mm-hmm.
My first entrepreneurial moment, I'm going to pour everything that I have onto Grant and his career because he had a better shot of surviving and having money. He was closer to the end zone for the touchdown than I was. So I was willing to do all that, be laughed at, not care. But I said, Grant, we're thinking big, okay? We're gonna do this thing called an empire. We're gonna create. Then we're gonna act like a king and the queen, and we're gonna have this thing, and who's in our royal court, and we're gonna build this whole thing out. And guess what, Grant? You're gonna be a billionaire. And Grant's like, furious at me, Jared. He's furious at me. He's like, what? That's so, how can you say that? You know how hard that is for a woman to make that demand on a man? Like, you don't have to hammer and push and shove. You get to just have these big ideas, and you get to do this, when is enough? When are you going to be happy? Furious, right? And so I had to, bite my tongue, because I could be feisty, and I could go back in it with my little zingers, and then I can understand. Okay, I just threatened this man, his ability and his potential in himself. He's not really angry at me. He's confronting himself right now. Big think. You want to talk big think? Mm-hmm. This is what you need, by the way, for an empire. Okay, you need big think. Mm-hmm. So I said, Grant, maybe I said that to you in the wrong way. Okay, I can take responsibility for that. But hear me out on this. Okay, first and foremost, I don't need Jack, okay, to make me me, okay? I have my honor, my integrity, my grit. I don't need a Chanel or a Lamborghini or a plane to make me be who I am. I know who I am, first of all, okay? Second of all, I said, Grant, you have products and services that can change people's lives. You owe it to people so that they can have your information and they can change their lives for the better. so they can cheat, so they can have financial freedom. You have that. And for you not to go exchange those products and services with enough people on this planet, you are committing a transgression amongst yourself. We have met some of the people at the top. We have met some of the billionaires, and I will never criticize someone richer than me, because I believe you cannot have what you criticize. So I will not do that. But I will tell you this. I have met those people, and none of them are as good as you. And by the way, the people that I've met up there, they are not cut from the same cloth that you and I are. We are different. It's just a different breed. It's just a different class up there. And that's fine. I'm not making it wrong, right? It's just different. We're from Louisiana. I'm from New Orleans. You're from Lake Charles. We can hang out. We can be social. Those people can like me. They can be nice. But we ain't them, and they know it. You know what I'm saying? So I tell her, and I was like, look, so you got to be a billionaire because you can help people. And I don't want to be up there with those people. I want all of our people, all the little people just like us, the little Lake Charles, the little New Orleans, who that, darlings? I want all my people up to the top, okay? So this is the big thing. And I said, and this is my little greedy secret, okay? So the next reason I'm about to tell you is because when you are around an entrepreneurial spirit, somebody who has as much ferociousness for life, for how big they're supposed to be, how much they're supposed to be walking amongst giants, when you're around a person like this, and they are not fulfilling their full potential, and they are not aimed at big, massive targets in life, guess what they're doing? That energy is coming on me. And I didn't want to be the target. So that's my little secret. I was like, look, I am not the target. That's the target. And I picked $1 billion, not because I need $1 billion. $1 billion is a representation in the physical universe to know that we had hit targets.
Yeah.
You have to have that in life. You have to have targets that you can physically see with your own eyes if you hit the target. So
you said something interesting though. Like you said something really interesting when you had that conversation in 2018. You had to make
2008.
I'm sorry, 2008.
I'm going to do it faster for you.
You had obviously had to make a decision. Like you had to make a decision for yourself. Like, and what I see is when the more people that read your book and go to your events and do all this stuff, the more I hear people about like wives that are producing at a high level and their husbands don't support them, or at our events, husbands that are producing, they're like, how do I get my wife on the same page? So this was a big moment for you in your mindset shift, and I know we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I just want to take this time to say, let's come back to this one idea of this shift that you made, because that really was the thing that initiated the big momentum.
This is the change of everything in my life, was this mindset. First of all, I was not thinking in these huge terms. But I'm telling you, at the time, if I'm thinking $1 billion, and I'm going to put everything at risk, and I'm going to go convince this guy to have this mindset of $1 billion. And again, like I was saying, $1 billion is a target. But here's what I told Grant. I said, if you made $1 billion, imagine everyone that you know on the Forbes list, right? You know who they are. It's like a Walmart, it's like Coca-Cola, it's big companies. Imagine how many of your products and services you would have had to exchange with the world in order to have $1 billion. So that's the moment that I told him, like, let's zone in on this. So that's where the whole mindset changed.
So the big think came in.
The big thing came in, right?
So that was the catalyst. That was the thing that made the initial move. And then what happened next?
So after that, and you can see why trading in the acting career for $1 billion potential paid off, thank God. No, then it came into massive action. We had to take massive action on all levels. So then you work backwards. You see, people have it wrong. Okay, people have it wrong in life. People think this, okay? People think, oh, I'm going to be happy when I have money, or I'm going to be whatever when. You fill in the blanks. But that's not how it works. It actually works in reverse. Okay, so if you're going to wear the hat of a successful, let's call it a billionaire for billionaire's sake, but you're going to be a successful billionaire who's trading products and services to make a difference for the better. If you're going to do that, even though you're not a billionaire, we were on the verge of losing everything. What you didn't see is those 10 years pre-social media when there was no dinners, no parties, no cars, no
shopping, no trips,
no vacations. There was nothing. Grant said all spending stops, which was fine. I didn't even spend money back then. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's it, because I thought we were losing the house. I thought we were losing everything. I was like, that's it. So then I said, you have to wear the hat of that successful person. Not that you have to be irresponsible and be like, oh, I'm a billionaire, I'm going to go spend money I don't have. We didn't do that. But you assume the beingness of the role that you want to do. Okay? And then the next step is you have to take the actions. So what is it that a successful billionaire does? Okay, what would they need? You need products and services. Now, Grant, you got to go get to work.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, right? Let me come back to that because you said something important about the support. Let me tell you something, ladies, who all get this idea. Oh, I'm gonna tell my husband or my boyfriend he needs to become a billionaire. Let me also add this addendum, okay? You don't get to make a demand of somebody else of that magnitude and then say, oh, but you don't spend enough time with me. Oh, you're always working on your work. Because if you want something that big, if he's going to reach $1 billion, and he has to we want to reach 7 billion people on planet Earth. We want them to know who we are because I figure we can help maybe half of them. And I'm crazy enough to think maybe I can, right? But you do a demand like that of somebody, then all bets off the table. Then you're supporting the mission. You're helping somebody achieve their goals. That's true love. Not turning off the TV and hand-holding and saying, hey, did I prove my love for you for the last 2 hours? Great, now we can go. No, true love is helping somebody achieve their goals and their dreams. And when I do that for Grant and he helps you and you can make a difference and you can bring more money home to your family so you can take care of your family, your community, or whatever other projects you want, then I also helped you. So now, back to this part, okay, ladies? Back to this part, massive action. What does that look like? You have to come up with the products. You need to put the products out. We got to get the studio. We got to hire the people. We got to get the trainers. We got to get the salespeople.
Got to move across country.
We have to move across the country. We got to get out of California that's taking all of our taxes. We got to go. We got to go somewhere where we don't know anyone, where we can build and start. You got to expand. What information do we have? What kind of knowledge do we need? What kind of courses do we have to take? How do we educate ourselves? How much time, energy, and resources are we willing to invest in ourselves so that we can be at the top of the line in order to pass it along to everybody else? You know, how much do we need to know about money, finance, big thing? Who do we need to be around that will show active interest in the success of us? How do we collaborate? You see, and then you write all of your little actions. What would that take, you know? What industries do we need to get into? How do we do? So you write down that, and that's your action plan. You should be so busy with your plan of action that you don't really have time to argue with a friend, a boyfriend, a husband, a spouse, anybody about anything because you're too busy. You can't take the time to be distracted on the little stuff when you're going for the big picture. When you're going for the Super Bowl of life, you know? When you're going for the Super Bowl of life, you have your team. You find your team. Okay, no one person can win the Super Bowl. It comes with a team. And when you're playing with your team in Game 3 and someone fumbles the ball, the quarterback just needs to take responsibility that he needs to practice throwing the ball at a more particular zone, and the catcher, receiver, whatever you call those guys, they need to practice getting to the ball and holding on to the ball. The quarterback doesn't need to be yelling at the receiver, and certainly you don't need to be having this conversation about what the hell happened in Game 3 when you're on Game 9 or when you're playing the actual Super Bowl. Get over it, you know, get into a cohesive, collaborative effort with your team and have abundance in all areas of your life. So what does that look like? Having abundance in all areas of your life. In order to build this whole thing, this whole infrastructure on the information, on the support, on the community, I found that you need to be 10x in 5 pillars. I created these 5 pillars. Jared's looking at me, he's like, wait, she went off the slide. She went off the slide. You want me to go back?
No, I got it. We're good.
Okay. So the 5 pillars are mindset, business, relationships, health, and money. Now, hold on. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to catch up with you. Okay. Okay. Should I go there, Jared? Where should I go? Tell me.
Right here.
What are the people saying? Are y'all tracking me so
No, they're
far?
vibing for sure.
You're
we
vibing?
love this. You're killing it.
Yes. Okay.
This is amazing.
Anybody have questions along the way? Have I scared anybody off so far? You were like, wait, I can't make demands and I can't ask for my time. I'm out of here.
Well, like, you know, it's funny because you say this stuff and like, I think some people can, like, I know that for Sandy and I, in our relationship,
Yeah.
like, when we sit down and we talk about the things that we want,
Yeah.
like, I find that there is, if you don't even have those conversations about what you want in a relationship, like let's just, when you're single, it's a little bit easier because you're only worried about yourself. But you add a wife or a husband into the picture and things get a little bit trickier. And then you add kids and they get a little bit trickier. But sitting down and having a conversation and identifying what is important to the other person. Like if Grant is the charger,
Yeah.
if he's the grinder,
Yep.
and he needs to understand that his goals that he has, like right under those, need to be Elena's goals.
Right.
And like that's what I feel like part of my responsibility in our relationship. And I learned this by watching you guys. Like I've had a front row seat to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I say Sandy's goals need to be my goals, like I need to be invested in her goals as well.
Show active interest in the success.
Exactly. Support.
Starts in the bedroom.
So this is, yeah. So this is like, you have to make this decision, right? Like if you want 10x in your life, let me just see you guys say yes in the comments. Like if you know where you're at ain't 10x and you want to get to 10x, then let me just see some yes in the comments because I want to make sure we got the right people in the room here.
Okay.
Because what happens is when you make this 10x decision and you start having to take actions after that to put this plan in place, it becomes challenging.
Yeah.
It's not easy. So
Right.
as you said, hey, I'm going to give up all of these dreams that I have to become an actress. I'm going to, like, that doesn't happen without first understanding that you guys both got on the same page with the mission.
That's right.
After Grant lost the freak out and he came down to planet Earth and he realized, he's like, wait a second, the billion isn't about the money, the billion's about the impact.
Bingo.
And then you guys both were in alignment and both supportive. So if you're sitting here and you're like, I can't get along with my spouse, they're not on the same page with me, I would ask, number one, have you guys ever had a conversation about where you want to go? And then number two, are you taking an active interest in the other person's goals? Because that's really what Grant and Elena have done in the beginning that allowed them to make the commitments to move across the country, to hire all the people, to put the money at risk, to take all these risks because they had a goal that was so big. Like Grant says, he says, you need to have goals so big that you're willing to walk through glass to get them. That only when your goals reach that level will the actions and the decisions that you start taking in your life start reflecting that. And so, like, I love this, that you put this together, this 10X lady, this little word collage here.
Okay. Well, I want to piggyback on what you said because it's very important, okay? Whether you're in a relationship or whether you're going to have platonic partners in life, you need to figure out adapt it to yourself. Like what you were talking about. I have my own personal goals, okay? Grant has his own personal goals. But we have a column down the middle which is called the couple's goals. And again, if you're not in a relationship, that's fine. But put it in your partner in business. What are your business partners and yours goals? Because they might be different. You might find early on that you're not aligned and this partnership isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So Grant and I have the couple's goals. So what was the goals? We want 7 billion people to know us. We want 7 billion people to be winning from our products and services. We want blah, blah, blah. We filled it out, right? So these became our goals, and that was the I on the Super Bowl. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Now, everything that I do in my column has to support me to be strong enough and be able to deliver 100% for the couple's goals. Because now I'm no longer just me, like you said. You got to take your wife and your kids. Now I have to take somebody else into consideration. So the couple's goals really become senior to like just my goals, because I have a goal, like I want to be a sport shooter.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a huge, like I love that goal. But that goal's not going to get me to 7 billion people knowing me, and it's not going to get people to be making a difference for the better on this planet. It's not going to change anyone's financial condition, right? And those are my real big goals. Those are the couple's goals. That's what we're doing together. And so that has to take a little bit of a back seat, right? But what is my goals, and what is a 10x woman? What is a 10x lady? And how does she get strong enough to bear the weight of the couple's goals, you know, to create this empire, to be the visionary, to be the support? How does she get herself strong enough? What does she need? What is that? She needs to be in control, influential, powerful, strong. She needs to be a risk taker, successful, committed, a leader, passionate, disciplined, confidence. How do you develop these things? I mean, but that's what it takes to be a 10x lady. You know, confidence. A lot of women might be out there and saying, I don't have confidence in myself. How do you get confidence? You get confidence by just doing what you say you're going to do over a consistent enough period of time until eventually you can trust yourself. You can trust yourself to say, if I'm going to do something, it will get done, because you have the track record. You earned it. I was not always like this. I was not always confident. I was not always committed. I didn't surround myself with the right people. Before I got into this, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was 17 years old, okay? I unfortunately met tragedy at 13 years old when I unfortunately woke up one morning in the middle of the night and had to watch my best friend's house burn to the ground with her and her mother in it. And even worse than that, I had to see my friend as what do they call it? They call it recovered, as they recovered the body. You can't unsee certain things, okay? At 13 years old, this was more than my mind could deal with. Couldn't confront it. I grew up in a household that was very loving, but we always didn't show our emotions. And plus I had been a tomboy my whole life, so I'm only 13 years old. From the ages of 6 to 12, I was always trying to beat the boys at everything. So it meant if I got hurt while we were playing football or punching each other, you know, or playing baseball or getting hit in the face with a ball or a bat, I was a girl. That meant I couldn't cry. You know, I mean, boys could cry, I couldn't cry because I didn't want to be a girl, right? Now I'm 13, so now I'm kind of coming out of that. I'm finding my girlhood. This thing happens. I can't cry. I'm not showing emotion. I turn to drugs. I start self-medicating with drugs, with alcohol at 13 years old. You know, I didn't have confidence. I surrounded myself with people who supported me by getting me high and more high, and the confidence goes less. And I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And you know, a friend, you want to talk about a friend? I would go get so partied out in the French Quarter. I'll never forget this. This is still my best friend. She's a good friend. I wasn't a good friend. She was like, will you take me home? Who's right hand trying? You take her, yeah, I'll take you home, don't worry. Forgot, left her all alone. Didn't show up for people. How could I show up for people? I couldn't even show up for myself. Do you know what I'm saying? These were just terrible times to be in. Like surrounding yourself with people who won't even be there for you if you need them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you have when you're growing up and like, I didn't make the decision for me to do something bigger and better till 26. And from the time I was 20 until the time I was 26, it was like, I ended up partying a lot. I ended up doing drugs a lot. I ended up, chasing the wrong type of friendship. Like, I remember I was young and making a good bit of money for how old I was at the time. And we were partying, and I had so many friends because I'd buy drinks and tables and bottle service and all this stuff. And I was out spending all, and I was like, man, I have all these friends. And then when the money stopped and it fell off, I'm like, I don't have any friends except for friends that are still liking to party. And I just was unemployed and smoking weed every day, and I was a loser. And so I think everybody has these stories of times where they're really trying to figure things out. And maybe for some people it wasn't doing drugs at 13, or it wasn't, smoking weed every day like it was for me. Maybe you don't have that. Believe me, you don't want to experience that to get you to make the decision to change. But that moment, like when you decide to change out of that thing, when you decide that you're going to like break that cycle, like that's really when things have the opportunity to start self-correcting. There's still so much work that has to happen with yourself, with your friends, with the information that you bring in, with the people you keep around you, with the support that you get from your friends and your family and all these people. But like getting out of this. So my point of saying all that is that no matter where you're at right now, no matter how good or bad you've had it, if you decide that you want something bigger, if you decide that 10x, and you decide that abundance, like Elena said, abundance in every area of your life is something that's important to you, then you have to start with a change. You have to start with a decision that gets made. Like, it's so simple, like a simple decision to say, I'm not going to smoke weed anymore. I'm not going to hang out with those people anymore. You know what? I'm actually going to...
What are you willing to give
Exactly.
up in order to get where you want to be?
Exactly. So, like, the way you start bringing all of this together, and you have it up right here, are these 5 pillars. And when you explained this to me the first time, I was like, you know what? Like, if you can nail these 5 things, and if you click the next thing, okay, perfect, good.
Yeah.
So, like, just look at this chart right here. And if you can say, I'm 10x in the mindset. Like, mindset's about the decision.
Make a commitment.
Right.
The easiest thing and the first most easiest thing is a decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment, like you said, to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do anything. About the confidence, you don't have to start off with this huge, enormous task. Just do one little thing every single day to get in the habit of doing something, to be able to depend on yourself. Whether it's taking your water, taking your vitamins, making a phone call, working out once a week, not smoking weed every day, whatever it is, chart it, graph it, do it. You're going to see after a week. Make a decision to wake up before the sun comes up for 1 week. See how you feel. You're going to be like, man, I can do things.
Yeah.
I'm competent. I'm able.
I can do things that aren't comfortable. Like when you say, hey, like Sandy just shifted her whole schedule to where she's waking up super early. She's working out at 6 a.m. every day now.
Yay!
And she's like so empowered by it because she realized that she's like, wow, like I have more time in my day now. Plus I could do something that I never thought I could do. So like when you start...
Empowering.
Totally.
It's so empowering to be able to have your mind be the boss and command your body, which is the worker.
So let's talk about these 5 pillars.
Okay.
So mindset is where it starts. This is where everything initiates, right? So you make these decisions, and then that starts this whole wheel. So talk about, you've got mindset up here. Talk about, for you, some of the things that changed in your mindset that actually allowed you to finally release. Because a lot of people, they're still looking for that thing. They're like, what is that thing that I need to change right now that can get me started to get on the track to where I want to go? Because if you want to go on the road less traveled, if you want to go on the narrow road, if you want to go for something remarkable and not something average, like you have to do something different than you're doing right now. And so for you, I'd love it if you could share a couple points on kind of the things that were integral for you with the way that you were thinking.
Yeah, so for the mindset, what I had to look at was what I thought about certain things. Like we talked about earlier, I was this independent, strong woman. I had the mindset that all men hold me back, right? And so I was in these relationships, previous to Grant, of course, where I was with these guys that would hold me back. And I was always the victim of the same kind of situation and outcome. I was making, a lot of money, to me at the time, 6 figures. I was on a TV show. I had my house, my cars. There was up and down years, but like I was always kind of paying for them, and then they were all cheating on me, and then they were having these big dramas, so then I would be late for a show or a set or this, or I always had something to blame them on because they were holding me back. And then one day I had the epiphany, the realization that I'm actually the creator of this. I'm actually the creator of my universe. It's I had to accept that maybe it wasn't happening to me, that maybe it was happening because of me. So I was indoctrinated, right? Like most of us are, with data that you don't even know doesn't belong to you. So I was indoctrinated that I had to be this independent, powerful woman, which was probably part of the reason why they were cheating, because I was making all this money. I was acting like, I don't need you for anything. I don't need to ask you for anything. I got my own money. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. And I don't care if you're a guy or a girl, whatever. Do you want to be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't need you? How special does that feel? So of course they're going to go cheat, and they're going to go find the girl that makes them feel wanted, needed, hot, sexy, whatever. I was like, I don't need you. So I looked at my own mind like, okay, so these guys aren't doing anything to me. These are guys that I actually cast in the play that's called My Life, where all men hold me back. So they fulfilled the role. I cast them perfectly. Beautiful little specimens of boys. And I cast them perfectly in my role. and I made myself right that they hold me back and that they cheat. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm right about that. And so they did it. But they weren't like, this is what I created. So I looked at, how can I shift my mind? How can I maybe make it different? Can I just maybe be open to the possibility that maybe out of 7 billion people on the planet, maybe there's just one who could actually help me reach a heightened level of success? Could there be just one guy out there that could not hold me back, but could lift me up, that could not cheat? Could I just be open to that mindset? And I'll be honest, at the time, I was like, I'll be open to it, but I don't believe it. But I just kept telling myself, just be open to this. Just be open to the possibility that it could be that. And within a month, I met Grant. Now, I had to do a little bit more work on myself, because it took about 13 months. But during that 13 months, I was working on myself, because I said to myself, and you can do this list with anyone, okay? But I wrote the list of what I wanted in my ideal man. And I wrote all these amazing things, over 100 qualities. And then after I did that, I had this epiphany. I said, well, if I wrote the list and this guy existed, I could be with this guy for the rest of my life. Like, this is a guy that I would be faithful to. This is a guy I could help, And then I said to myself, well, what does his list look like of his ideal woman? And so I started to write out what that meant for me. Well, I put, if this perfect guy, he's not going to want a girl who's like recreational drug using or in clubs, because again, I was in my 20s, he's not going to want excessive alcohol. He's not going to want some girl that flirts with guys just for fun. He's going to want like someone who's committed, who's hardworking, who's ethical, who's interested in him. Yeah. Shows him attention, so I wrote all these things down. Then I went, oh my God, well, that's not me. And so how could I ever have him? Because he's not going to find me. But you see, you can do this, by the way, with anything in life. You can do this with, an accountant that you're trying to hire. What is it that you want in the accountant? And what are you willing to be for the accountant? Like, what is the accountant looking for? Security in a job, someone who doesn't yell at them. You can do this exercise with anyone. So that's when I realized, you know what? I'm the creator of my world and my universe. And then after I started taking those that work on myself to become the woman that would show up in that man's life, I didn't realize he had already showed up. Yeah. And was calling me twice a month, every month for 13 months. I didn't realize the 26 phone call guy was the guy. But finally, I got myself up to the point where I could actually see him. And I was like, oh my gosh, So yes, I had to do that with relationships. I had to do that with money. You know, I had this up and down relationship with money. And then I really had to analyze, well, what is my mindset on money? What am I creating here? I had this idea, you know, that rich, you know, because I was punk rock. I forgot to mention that. I was like a little punk rock chick when I was a teenager. I literally had a half a shaved head. And then the top was like in, you know, like a grandma does blue-black hair. I had blue-black hair, and it was all in knots. Yeah. So
like dreadlock knots, like.
Well, they weren't as cool because they weren't all shaped.
Yeah.
But yes, if you picked up one strand of my hair, it was like one giant knot. I don't know what you call that.
I gotta see a picture.
It was insane. Okay, but from that era, I had that. People with money were uncool. Like, I was punk rock, you know, we were like rebels. Like, we didn't like people with money. It's like, steal from the rich, give to the poor, you know. So then I got out of the punk rock thing, but I still had this thing where, like, I couldn't make a certain amount of money, or now I'm uncool, or I'm going to be like the wealthy person. So I had to readjust my thinking. Like, okay, well, where does that come from? Why are wealthy people greedy? Because what I had realized is, you know, when I was greedy, when I didn't have money. I was greedy when I didn't have money because all I could focus on was myself. But maybe I had to be open to the possibility that if you have money, you can actually be more generous, which I found that is to be true. That is to be the case. Maybe with money, I can help more people. Maybe with money, I can do more things and have a better quality of life for others. So I had to change my mindset on money. And it wasn't until I did that all of a sudden I could start having more money. Because right when I would have it, I would lose it.
Yeah.
Like, I would get parking tickets or, you know, fender benders or pop a tire on a curb or you name it. Like, I did it. Like, anytime I started to have a little bit of money, I would, boom, wipe it out. You know, and then again, I thought, well, I'm just victim of circumstance. That just happened to me. Until I realized that I'm the creator. And so with the money thing, like, what is it? You know, it wasn't until recently I always thought, well, Grant makes all the money. Grant makes all the money in the business. And I had that mindset going. And then I looked at it and I was like, well, that is true. He does make all the money. But can I be open to, like, if I wanted to make my own, like, additional money, I could do that? And it was like something like, wow, well, like, what could I do? Because, like, I can't really leave our multi-billion-dollar company and go start my own thing. That's weird. Like, I'm individuating from everything here. Like
the power,
I'm
individuating
from the power. Like, it doesn't make sense. But then all of a sudden, Grant partners up with Glenn Sanford and EXP and does this whole collaboration. Next thing you know, I'm a realtor and I'm helping other people build their businesses through real estate, through the EXP vehicle. And it just so happens I'm going to make a lot of money, and I have made a lot of money. Now I sold my first couple of homes. I've made big, huge commission checks, which is amazing. And I know that sounds like, oh gosh, this chick is weird. But I'm weird. First, let's just get that out of the way. You know, I'll tell you, it's like you can take the girl out New Orleans, but you can't take New Orleans out the girl. Like, I still struggle with that, even though we're even though we're a multi-billion-dollar empire at this time, I still have to battle with my mindset. I still have to confront this in myself. I still fight myself for these small-minded ideas and concepts that hold me back. Like, I can't do this, I can't do that, and what's wrong with this, and why can't I have my own? Or, you know, it's just fun. It's like working out. Like, it's fun to just be able to, like, if that's what you want and that's what you choose, like, to have your own thing as a woman that's in addition to the thing that you're doing with your husband to help each other on all of the levels.
Yeah, well, this is like it's like your thing now has the potential to be so much more significant than that thing that you were holding on to, the actress thing. And you're holding on to this thing that you're like, oh, this is going to be so great. It's going to be so awesome. It's going to be everything that I want and dreamed of. And the thing that you're doing now, because you gave that up, has the opportunity to be so much bigger. So you really have to be willing to give up things, right? So talk a little bit about that.
You definitely really have to be willing to give something up. You can't get where you want to be without making a change, without making a sacrifice. I cannot go be over there with you by remaining in this chair.
Yeah.
A physical action will happen. I will have to give up this chair in order to go over there and have a spot next to you. So it's about giving something up. I had to give up my ego and this thing that I thought I wanted. You know, when I was an actress, I could never figure out what is my purpose. What do I want to do? Like I really analyzed this. And for me, acting was the answer to get me out of New Orleans. It was the answer to get me from being 13 to 17, and every time I walked in and out of my house, I had to look across the street and see the burnt out shell of a house and not be able to wipe that memory out of my mind. So at 17, I go, I didn't go to college. That ain't my jam, you know. What am I going to do? I could maybe try being an actress. I don't know. Some people thought I was cute. Maybe I'll try being a model. So I went to LA at 17 years old. I had to give up my friends in New Orleans, my comfort zone, and move to Los Angeles knowing no one at 17 years old. I had to, okay, that was one. Then with Grant, it's like I had to be willing in 2008 to give up this idea, this ego of this actress thing. Oh, I want to be famous. I want everybody to know me, to like me. It was always me, 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 me. I couldn't figure out the purpose. Like, what is the purpose? And then I finally figured out the purpose was just to get me out of New Orleans. The acting got me out of New Orleans. It got me supporting myself. It got me on that process of handling and sorting out my life. And now is at a point where I didn't need that anymore. Now I had a vision, like, okay, now I want to build an empire, something substantial. What is it that I want? What is my legacy? Do I want to play vampires and, like, you know, chicks and movies that are like what am I doing? Like, am I trying to entertain people? Am I like vampires? Like, what is my purpose? Like, I don't get it, you know? And now it's like I'm going. So now it's like give up ego in order to, wow, I had the opportunity to build this vision. Now, with the EXP thing, I have the opportunity to do everything that I've done with Grant, which is mindset, support, infrastructure. I run the whole community. Like, anyone that comes in and out of our lives, that's my role, that's my hat. Grant runs business, I run other functions. It's how we do what we do so well. We delegate who does what based on our strengths and weaknesses, not male, female. And I get to be the boss of my domains, and he's the boss of his domains, and he can't cross over and I can't cross over, nor does he want to, because I got to get my area 100% booming, because I always got to be number one in everything I do, and so does he. And guess what? It alleviates the fight.
So can I ask you this? I want to ask you, so you've gone from, you accepted responsibility for everything that was happening and you were creating the situation that you were in. You moved to giving up these things. Real quick, like, when you're making these decisions to give these things up, when you finally get to the point where you're like, I'm ready to ditch this,
drugs, alcohol,
or even just
friends,
location, the ego, the independent thing, like, were those things?
Time out. Which ironically, and I never expected it to be this way, but I feel like I've gained my strength, power, independence from a man than I did on my own. Like, I never thought I was gonna find myself and my true power from a man. Not that he gave it to me, but he sure did give me the circumstances that I had to get myself through in order to meet myself as a woman and as a powerhouse, to support that whole thing and everything that goes along with it.
Did you know, like, when you look back, did you know the thing that you needed to give up the whole time?
No.
Wow. So you're searching. So you're like, man, what is the thing that I need to change? And then one day it hits you. So what do you think? Because for a lot of the people that are watching right now, they may be going, I'm not.
People watching right now, if you're taking notes and a pen and a paper, I want everyone to write down one thing that you know right now that you need to give up in order to get where you want to be. And there's one thing you have to give up. Is it sleep? Is it hanging out with the guys? Is it drinking alcohol? Is it hanging out with the girls? Is it hanging out in strip clubs? Is it gambling? Is it smoking? What is it? You know what it is. I'm not Mother Teresa here. You know. You can't lie to yourself.
And I bet if everybody that's in the chat right now that's watching this live, people from all over the world, really, I bet if they started writing down the things that they needed to give up, you would find that for a lot of people, probably 70% of them need to give up the same thing. Like it's
too much TV time.
Could
too
be.
Much Netflix. Not enough focusing on where you want to be and how you're going to get there.
So you make these hard decisions, and then you get to the point where you're like, now, like you're already like, I feel like the engine, the rate in the race car is built, and the car's out on the track already, and you're in first place. I'm just doing this because I love Formula One. So you guys are in first place, and now like what happens for you when everything starts working right? Like what's the next thing that you have to make? Because you've already done a lot of the right mindset things to get where you're at. What do you have to change now to keep it going?
You got to protect the empire. So, it comes with being able to recognize who is in your life, why you've let them in there, what is their role, their purpose, and you have to ask yourself, are they an asset or a liability? And at some point, in order to get big, you're going to have to confront this. People don't just get to be in your life because they know you or even because they're family. It's a really hard pill to swallow, and most people can be handled. You can talk to them, you can avoid certain topics or situations, and you just don't have to cross the line. But there are some people who, quite the opposite of support, want to suppress. And suppress means they are actively interested in suppressing, of holding you down. And they're very few and far in between, but they do exist, and you have to be willing to confront it. And you have to be willing to say who's in and who's out and why. So you got to protect the empire. Be willing to look for the red flags. We'll be talking about that at a little event I have coming up.
That's right.
That I'm teasing you with. But I might tell you about at the end of the seminar.
So first thing we've got is in the 5 pillars is the mindset. And then let's talk about business now. So for you, that had evolutions, right? And there was seasons of this. So for you, like, how did you know when everything started, like, clicking?
When we were able to identify the right vehicle, like, what were the right vehicles? And like I said, the biggest mistake that Grant and I made was we didn't collaborate soon enough. We tried to do everything on our own. So this is the most, senior, most important, well, I wouldn't say that because purpose is really you got to have the purpose. We talked about that. But in the right vehicle and in business, you have to collaborate. What is the right vehicle? Who are you partnering up with that have the same goals as you, that have the same core values? What are your core values? Do you even know? Have you taken the time to write them out? What is it that you're looking for in partners? You want them ethically ambitious, you want trustworthy, you want integrity, you want go-getters. What do you want? You want, write it down. What are your core values? And then based on that, we figured out who to align ourselves with that fit the vehicle and the overall mission of where we want to go. So when you look at the right vehicle, you use the example of, when I look back when I was an actress, I realized it's 2008, 2007, 2008, you start getting into this, you're like, what am I actually doing this for? You realize that now you start talking about these big things, these $1 billion targets, you're like, I'm not going to do that in the actress vehicle. And you start going through and you start asking yourself, why am I even doing this? First of all, it's not the vehicle that's no actor has ever become a billionaire to my knowledge. I don't know, maybe, but not acting in movies. I mean, they made a lot of money, the Tom Cruises or whatever, they've made a lot of production companies,
but they've never, nobody ever makes $1 billion acting in movies. And so then you have to start looking at why. What is the why? So talk a little bit about, once you've looked at your vehicle and you've said, is this the thing that's going to take me to the finish line? Yes or no? Then what do you do next? What happens next to qualify that your business or your vehicle is the right thing? So it has the potential to get you where you want to go, but what other things need to be served?
Well, the purpose. Are they aligned with the purpose that everyone's on right now? You know, what is the mission? What is the purpose? What is the core values? Can we benefit each other? Can you help me reach a heightened level of success? Can I help you reach a heightened level of success? That's all I'm interested in at this point in my life. I'm interested in helping people who can help themselves and then being the support that they need to lift them or to boost them into a higher level. So, you know, a company has to be ethical for me. You know, mine are very clear. Like, I can't be involved with anyone who's wishy-washy, who's not accountable, who's, you know, cheating on their husbands or wives. Like, because if they cheat on them, they're definitely cheating on themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I have to have somebody who's got goals and ambitions and appreciate money. Like, they can't be bitter about money because then they're going to take my business down. You know, like, you know, they have to have the same mindset. This is what is so important.
Well, and that's it. Well, I mean, because then either consciously or unconsciously, you have people that are suppressing you. Like, and when you think about people, Grant in Be Obsessed or Be Average, he compared haters to naysayers. Like, haters are vocal about their intention to suppress you. The naysayers are the ones who do it with quote unquote love. And so, you know,
that's
like
the most dangerous, by the way.
100%. So you have those people around you that are actively trying to harm you. And then you have the people that are out of quote unquote love trying to protect you. So when you start making these decisions, like, you have to have commitment to this purpose thing at a high level. Like, when you say we need to get to 1 billion, we need to reach 7 billion, because at that level, then we can, I mean, like, I know how much money y'all contribute to charity every year. Like, those are monster numbers that we don't really ever talk about, but like, that type of impact in what that does for communities is insane. And so you guys have had the purpose. You can make, because you have commitment to a bigger purpose, you can make decisions within the empire that can be tough. Like, are they aligned? Do they have the mindset? Are they trustworthy? Are they ethical? No, get rid of them.
And it's hard. It's hard to get rid of them because on paper it looks perfect. And then you look like totally like a, I don't want to say dumbass, but you feel like one because the carrot, the dangling carrot is so enticing that you want to compromise your integrity and make allowances.
Short term, yeah.
Short term. But look, one of the things about our success is you can see the planes, the helicopters. The reason why I love the planes so much, aside from the fact that it's an amazing way to travel, but that to me is like the ring. It's like the championship ring in the Super Bowl. It's this thing that I kept telling you about with the targets in the physical universe. Because when I look at that, it tells me we've made enough right decisions. Obviously, you see the products and everything that it took to get that. But what you don't see, and that can never get graphed, the statistic is impossible to graph, is how many times you said no to the people that could potentially have brought a lawsuit on you, caused you problems, taken you down, destroyed the empire within, because they're the most dangerous, the people that you let in that can destroy it from within because they have access to all your resources, you know, whatever, the list goes on and on. The betrayal, the disruption.
So in business, you're looking, number one, to identify the right vehicle, making sure that you're in something that can take you over the finish line. Number two, you're finding the purpose in your vehicle so that you can have the drive to reach for bigger, bolder, audacious dreams and targets and things.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to do that alone. You've got to surround yourself with people who are going to be on your team, who are going to be able to support your vision, who are not going to constantly be saying you look tired, when are you going to sleep, when are you going to take a vacation, aren't you working too much, when's enough? You know, these people that are just trying to help you, who are just trying to love you, they either need to get like really indoctrinated on where you're trying to go and see the vision, or they got to be like a little bit pushed out to the side. And it's hard. It's a sacrifice. It's another sacrifice that you have to be willing to make in order to get where you want to be. What's more important to you? See, on our page, we want to make a difference for the better. We want to make a difference for the better. That is our legacy play. So everybody and every endeavor, everything that we are focused on has to want the same thing, or it won't work.
And then finally, create impact on a greater level. And that's what you're talking about with the philanthropy and helping people in a bigger, more meaningful way it's funny because Grant said, he was like, sometimes you have to be greedy so you can get to a point where you can be generous.
Yeah, too.
And that doesn't mean just money. It means you have to be greedy with your time. It means you have to be greedy with your energy. It means you have to be greedy with your love. It means you have to be like it means you have to conserve the things that you need to get yourself into a position so that you can go out and do something massive. And I think that's really cool that we get to see now a situation where, we have the 10X Hub in South Africa. And this is such a cool project. So through the foundation, we've partnered with a company.
The Grant Cardone Foundation.
The Grant Cardone Foundation. It's called the 10X Hub. And it's basically, it operates in South Africa where people in these villages don't have access to schools or to educational material. And we have these vans that literally go from village to village, and they have teachers, and they go into each of these villages and they teach there. And it's a remarkable thing, but that's the this is identify the right vehicle. You said, hey, we got to go all in on this core business. Find the bigger purpose in the vehicle. Now that we're in this business, we got to go 7 billion. And then now create the impact. Now that you're there, you can't reach 7 billion unless you get into Africa, unless you go to India, unless you go to Australia. And the 2 years ago before COVID, like the world tour first happened.
2019, we went to 19 countries, went on a global world tour. If you want to reach 7 billion people, guess what? You got to get in your jet and go meet the 7 billion people of the planet.
So let's talk now about pillar 3, which is relationships. And this is a big one. This is the one that I think, like I've lost count of how many people have emailed into you and saying, save my marriage. Like changing and really this is women that are reaching out that are saying, I changed my perspective and it changed my marriage. And this is again from either a position where the woman is the breadwinner and she is having thoughts and in taking actions in the relationship that will create conflict. And then it's also the opposite side where they're actually hearing and seeing for the first time that, wow, there's so much power in being the support because of them seeing you and them seeing it in action. It really helps them change us. So talk about relationships.
I'm finding I can be both.
Yeah.
It's just challenging.
Yeah.
It's a fun challenge. Go ahead.
Because you're going for something big. And that's the importance of some massive, audacious target is because all the ridiculous things that you do, like build the multi-billion-dollar empire and then go out and start all over and say, I'm going to build a real estate company and then I'm going to build a big event and training business focused on women and helping them avoid the mistakes and the time and the pain and the frustration that I experienced for 12 years trying to figure all this out. Like, there was nobody's showing the curtains saying this is the role that you do, run for it. Exactly. And I want you to talk about relationships because when you say relationships for me, I immediately go to my relationship with my wife or a girlfriend at the time. But you said that it starts before that.
Yeah, it does. I'm glad you mentioned that. It starts before that. Before you can have relationships with other people, you have to be your own best friend. It was a lesson that took me a really long time to learn in life. I had the cognition after I gave up a lot of the drugs and left my friend in the bar by herself in the French Quarter. I actually became a really good friend, and I realized I was a really good friend to other people, But that's not what I did to myself. What I did to myself was beat myself up, make myself wrong. I quit. When I would get criticism, I would be like, screw it, I'm giving up, who cares, And then I realized one day, when I was doing my mental lashings to myself, I had the realization, why am I doing this? I would never treat anyone else like this. So why am I treating myself like this? Why can't I be my own best friend? And again, it came with a decision. I made a decision, I'm going to be my own best friend. And what does that look like? It means that I hold myself accountable. I forgive myself when I make a mistake. I put in a policy to help me figure out what I did wrong so I can take responsibility for the thing that I did wrong. How can I put in a policy in place to protect me from making the same mistake over and over? Because I don't want to be a repeat offender. And then how can I like really help myself and empower myself to flourish and to flourish and prosper?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I really own this powerhouse woman that I am and stop pretending that I'm this weak little girl? How do I really own that? And it all started with, I need to not, in this sense, depend or rely on anyone else first.
Mm-hmm.
First, it has to be me. And what do I need to do to make myself strong enough, able enough, and loving myself enough to be my own best friend? When I can be my own best friend, I can be anybody else's friend.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
So you start going through and saying, like, what do I need to change? Before you write the list of your ideal husband, then maybe you should start writing the ideal list for what you would like to be and getting clear on that and embracing that may require you to make significant changes to who you are and the things you do right now, whatever that could look like in your own life. You have to start making those adjustments for yourself, and then you look around and you start finding either alignment or misalignment in the personal relationships that you have. And so then that's when you have to start making decisions. All these, there's decisions, micro decisions, like all along the way.
I say it all the time. In the book that I wrote, Build an Empire, I say you're either creating an empire or you're destroying one with every decision that you make.
Mm-hmm.
From macro to micro. Every decision that you make, you're either creating or destroying an empire.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you have to do with this relationship thing is look at who is around you. Who are you in a relationship with?
Mm-hmm.
What is your relationship like with your grocery store person?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are your relationships like? What is your relationship like at home? What is your relationship like with your friends? Are they assets or liabilities?
Yeah.
I have to be willing to look at people as assets or liabilities. Are they there just occupying space and occupying time? Are they there just to make me feel good, have a beer with me?
Yeah.
Or what do? Do they challenge me to like think bigger, to go bigger? Like, what are they doing? How do they help me? What are your relationships doing for you?
And then you even mentioned a story about like your drug dealer friend, like that was like you had all these friends that you like were hanging out with because you guys were doing drugs, and then when you made these decisions to stop hanging out with them, there was like repercussions. You're like, if I wasn't going to be doing drugs, then they didn't want me around at all.
That's right.
Like,
if I wasn't participating in that, it wasn't like I was trying to tell them to stop being, quote unquote, who they were being, but they had a problem with me now trying to clean up and do something different. They didn't want me around. So
when you work on relationship with yourself, friends and family relationships, I want to address next.
Okay.
Because again, when you start saying you're going to be making these changes, like I know friends that stop drinking, and then people like give them a hard time about you got it. Yeah.
I'm not the party girl anymore. You're not the life of the party. What happened? What's wrong? Did you have a problem? Like, they just try to.
So talk to me about like with your family,
when you enjoy life.
Yeah. Talk about 10X family. Like when you think of the relationships that you have within the family, and you've talked a little bit about this in the things that you had to do with Grant and be supportive and things like that. But what about like with your kids? Like for some of the people on here won't have kids, but maybe someday they will. And I know that me watching you and Grant with the girls has given me a lot of encouragement and inspiration with how to raise our boys. So for you, when you look at a 10X family and you look at those relationships and that dynamic, talk a little bit about that.
So again, it's the same thing. It's about getting everyone on the mission and getting them into participating on the team. So you mentioned the kids. For the kids, my relationship with the kids, from a very young age, I'm like, look, I'm your mother. This is your father. This is our role. We're going to love, protect, and care for you. Da, 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 da. This is, by the way, who we are. We're Team Cardone. What do? We make a difference for the better. We had this passion and this goal even before you were here. We want to help people. We want to change people's lives. We want to make a difference for the better. Do you want to help people do that too? Yes. There too. Kids want to exchange.
Yeah.
They want to help. You know, people want to help other people. Like, good people want to help.
Yeah.
Good people can also be willing to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-step process, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the kids, I've indoctrinated them. Look, we're helping. Like, if we have to be gone from you, it's not that we're leaving you, we don't love you. It's, you know what it is? Mommy and Poppy have to go off and be superheroes because we help big people. We speak in front of groups and crowds and da-da-da.
On birthdays. I mean, I've seen it all on birthdays, on anniversaries, on Valentine's, on Halloween. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I said, you know, but here's the deal. If you let us go at that time, you're also helping people, because when we don't have to worry about you, we can be focused on them. And that's your contribution to the audience.
Right.
And then when we come home, you know, then can be celebrations, rewards, whatever. But they're like, they get that they're not being left. That when they're left, they're guarding the fort. They're in charge of something. They're taking ownership for a role. So they have roles.
Mm-hmm.
I have a role in my marriage. Grant has a role in the marriage. And the kids have a role in their marriage. And you know, if Grant can't make a birthday party, which he never does, guess what? We get to have 2 birthday parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one for the family and one for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're happy. It's never, oh, your father has to work again. You know, why would you do that to a child, by the way?
Yeah.
You know, this is what we do. We're in a group, we're in a team, and guess what? We get to go travel together, we get to do this together. Some things might not look like ordinary families, but guess what? We're 10X.
That's right.
10X family looks like how we want it to look like. We don't compare ourselves to other people. Every time I've ever compared my life to somebody else, I've gotten into trouble.
Yep.
Every single time I thought, this is what it's supposed to look like. We're supposed to sit down, hold hands, and be in love, you know, and turn off the TV time, and that's going to make me happy because that's what other couples do.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I have these expectations, that's not what does it for me. So
Yeah.
what is our thing? And the kids, or anyone in our organization, gets to have a role in that and gets to find their way to contribute and be rewarded for that contribution, because we're all in this together to reach this heightened level of success, to help as many people as we possibly can. And the kids know their role. They do the 10X kids.
Yeah. They come out on
speak at
stage. Yeah.
conferences,
Yeah.
They get on lives. So they contribute. And
Yeah.
they want to contribute, and that's their origination. Now they're almost 10 and 12, so they're you know, they can do more.
So I want to string something together real quick, because just hearing all of this, it makes me want to just make sure that this point is really well received by people. So you have to make decisions to change as a person first. And the thing you do in going through that is you ultimately end up setting a target to pull you out of the situation that you're in, out of your current circumstances. Then you get into your relationship and you have that whole new dynamic injected. And then you have to come up with another new target. And I think for some people that get into relationships, this is where it starts getting hard. So what would you say to a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend who maybe this could be the guy or the girl if things lined up correctly? Like, what would you say if they can't get to a shared vision? Like, if you're like, I want all these things for our family. I want freedom. I want this. And really, like, all that person wants is to just be kind of like just below average. Like, how do you encourage that other person? This is a question that we get a lot. Mm-hmm. How do I encourage my partner? And how do I
have an answer for that.
Okay.
I know where you're going. You want the partner to be on the same page.
Yeah.
How do you get them up? And I'm going to tell you, this is the answer. First of all, are you trying to make the person a you? That's the first thing to decide, okay? Because in our relationship, we don't have 2 Grants. Mm-hmm. We have a Grant role and we have an Elena role, and they look different. If Grant tries to get me to be a Grant, and I'm not good at being a Grant, I'm good at what I do, there's conflicts. Mm-hmm. So I ask you first to look at, are you expecting someone to be a you and not acknowledging the role that they do? Or are they not in the role and the vehicle that they should be in to support the relationship? Like, what is it that you're trying to get them to do? Are you trying to get 2 breadwinners? Are you trying to get 2 monsters? What is it? Are you just trying to get them to be like, go to all the 10X events with you? Like, what is it that you want? Like, first of all, map that out and get clear as to like what it is that you want, because a lot of times I think people are trying to get themselves when they don't really need themselves. Like, we only need one Grant, we only need one Elena. So figure out what you do want, what you're both willing to go for, what you can agree on, and how you can help each other get there. And you need to have probably more than one conversation. Look, you know what? I love you. And I believe the greatest act of love is to help you achieve your goals and your dreams. So what are your goals and your dreams? Maybe you could start there. Finding out from somebody else what it is. How can you listen to them and support what they need? And then it can open up the opportunity for you then to be able to say, okay, this is what I want and need out of the relationship in order to get here. What are we going to be as a couple? Are we the fighting couple? Are we the blasé couple? Are we the couple that does something? Are we the couple that makes a difference? Are we the couple? Like, what is it that y'all are together? Then you figure out who does what in the relationship based on what, and then really acknowledge them for their role. You see, because a lot of people could have looked at my role and that support role and said, you know, she's not up to Grant Cardone's speed. Or you can acknowledge everything that